Effective against all armor, weak to infantry anti-tank, mobile tanks. Huh? Targeted vehicle is subject to an increase in focused fire from nearby friendly forces? Huh? All infantry and team weapon units on the map gain increased combat effectiveness and infantry run at increased speeds? Huh? Howdy viewers, Alpern here, and if you've been paying attention the past few weeks, I've been running the game using a mod which actually tells me a lot of information about stuff such as units and abilities, and that very mod is what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about what it does, and of course how to install it yourself as it actually releases together with this very video. So this mod is single-handedly created by the user JamesJamozo. Huge thanks to him. Can't believe it's taken so many years before, we get something like this, and I think it's very unfortunate that the game did not include something like this on release. Now the mod does give a shit ton of information, and it's actually a sequel to another mod which many of you probably already use, known as the veterancy mod, which actually gives accurate information about all the veterancy levels. And what the mod basically does, both mods in these cases, is it changes text files of these units. Now the unit info mod, which is what we'll be talking about today, changes those text files a lot more than just for the veterancy. It also changes their descriptions, and it's changed in a way so that you get accurate stats of the most important characteristics of these units. Say infantry unit with a higher vision, it now shows the accurate vision ranges. And for vehicles you get stuff such as health, armor, damage and penetration, which is just very useful information to have on a glance. Most importantly, I think it is the fact that it also changes the descriptions for abilities. Now this game has a lot of abilities and they're all quite vague, and they usually do a lot of things, which means it can be really difficult to keep track of. This mod actually tells you exactly what those description does, and not only that, if you were to on your own go and look this up, it's very easy to get the wrong information, like outdated information, using stuff such as Cerealia, which is actually not up to date. So what James did, which is so brilliant, is not only did he take stuff from Cerealia, but he also made sure to update everything that's out of date using the most recent patch notes from different patches to make sure that he's got the most accurate information. So since the mod only changes text files, this actually means you can run this mod in automatch, and I've been doing that the past few weeks, and there is no issue. There is no risk of getting banned or anything. This is not considered cheating. It's not detected by Relic's anti-cheat system. And it's just very useful to have such a tool which actually tells you the correct information. So let's talk about a few examples and compare the vanilla game descriptions to the mod descriptions. So starting here with the Volksgrenadier veterancy, this used to be in the vet info mod as well. So this is probably familiar to most of you, but in vanilla game, vet 2 rank for Volksgrenadiers says that combat expertise increases squad accuracy and weapon control while under fire, which is true, but it does not tell you by how much. And looking here at the comparison with the mod, which will say 30% accuracy and minus 20% weapon cooldown, you will realize that vet 2 on Volksgrenadiers is actually quite a big swing, and it's arguably even better than getting STGs on your squad. And this is just really useful, because now you know when the unit gets a lot better. Next up we have the Mark vehicle, which I know is very common for players to confuse with giving increased penetration, which is actually not true. The mod here shows you it only increases the received damage for the target vehicle, and it does not help you increase any penetration versus the target. And here you can also do some quick maths, right? A Panzer IV has 640 HP, a T-34 deals 160 damage, so with this Mark vehicle, if you do it from the very beginning when the Panzer IV is full HP, the T-34 actually only requires 3 hits compared to the usual 4 using the Mark vehicle ability because of this received damage increase. Next up we have For Mother Russia, which gives a lot of bonuses to infantry and support weapons, and here you can see the exact amounts. It's 50% increase for infantry and different depending on the support weapon, 50 for MGs but only 25 for AT guns. And next up we have the Elephant Heavy Tank Destroyer differences here. With the mod you can see the damage it does, the penetration, you get armor, you get the HP value, and you get the range. And this is just very cool to see. You can make some very quick comparisons here, which is just very useful. So instead of the very vague effective against all armor, you can see exactly how effective it actually is. And you can also tell, for instance here, that it's very weak in its rear armor, since it only has 100 armor there compared to the 400 on the front. And if we now were to compare this to the T-34 here, you can see its damage is 160. It has the 120 penetration near to far. So penetration near is 120, penetration far is 80. So it increases penetration, which is actually true for all vehicles in the game. There is always better penetration chances the closer you get. But you can tell the major difference here between near and far. You can tell the armor values, you get the HP and you get the range. And here you see the support package on the Stern Pioneer, for instance. You can see that it increases the repair rate, which is, again, if you didn't know this can be very useful to know. The sweeper upgrades actually increase repair rate of all engineer units, which is really cool and really useful. And here's another example, for instance, on the Teller mine, or for all mines for that matter in the game. With the mod, it actually tells you the exact damage, and you can see here the Teller mine deals 400 damage, which means most light vehicles will perish from driving on it. So really useful stuff right here. You get a lot of information, which is just, you know, it's really cool to actually have access to this. I'm still getting used to it. I've had it for a couple of weeks and I still get surprised when I hover over units or abilities and it actually tells me accurate information. I've been playing this game for so many years that it almost feels unnatural to be able to hover over abilities and units and actually get accurate information. So I think that's really cool. I'm sad it's taken this far, but I'm also really grateful to James for actually getting something like this done. So let's talk about how you can install this for yourself. So in order to install this mod, you're gonna want to head to the GitHub I have linked in the description. And this GitHub includes the mod. You simply go to code and then download the zip, which gets you all the files. So make sure you download the zip. You can really slam it anywhere. And once you've downloaded the zip here, you're gonna want to go into your Steam folder where you keep Company Heroes 2. You wanna go browse local files in order to find the file directory where you want to put this bad boy. And once you're in this file directory, you simply go to CoH2, locale, English, and there is the text file that you want to replace. Make sure you save this somehow. You can like rename it or put it in a different folder, but you always want to make sure you save it in case something doesn't work, something that breaks for some reason, maybe it gets outdated, whatever the case may be, so that you can easily restore your game. You see me here saving it in a separate folder, calling it old or original or whatever, and this way you can easily restore your game if you for whatever reason don't want to have the mod activated anymore. Now, once that is done, you're gonna want to zip this compressed file, so you get the actual files out. And you can use WinRAR 7-zip or the Windows built the zipper that I just used, and then you get all of these files. You also have a few different languages here. I know perfect translations basically is for English and German, of course, but also for Spanish, I believe. And the rest of the language files, if you want, or if you're running Co in a different language, has basically been automatically translated, I believe, from the English version. So translations may not be perfect. It might be something James revisits in the future, fixing the translations for all the different languages. But you at the very least have all the options here. So what you're simply going to want to do is you're going to want to use whatever language file you're using and simply replace that old file that we moved out under the folder English. And you also have all the old files from the CoH2 Veterancy mod here, if you only want the Veterancy mod, for instance. Of course, the unit mod includes both Veterancy and unit info mod. So I recommend the unit info mod because it includes everything. The vet mod only includes the veterancy descriptions. So I would simply just ignore these and only get the info mod. The zip also includes a little notepad file here where you can read about, that includes all of the changes that the mod does, where it actually changes the descriptions. So check that out for a complete list. So again, simply put the file that you want in the correct language and then simply put it under the locale. And once that's done, you are good to go. The mod is installed. So if you now fire up the game, you will now see the unit info mod in the very top left in the menu, confirming that it is indeed installed. So once again, a final shout out to JamesJamozo for actually, doing this work, getting work done on this very mod. I am super impressed, and this is basically mostly just one man's work, but he wasn't completely alone. He also got a bit of help and feedback from the community Discord server, who has basically been beta testing this mod and making sure everything is correct, etc. There might still be issues, he warned me. There is a lot of there is a lot of moving parts here, I was about to say, but it's all static, of course. But there is a lot of, let's say, different sources, which means things could potentially slip through and be slightly wrong. But the majority is correct, for sure. I've looked through everything and there's nothing that really stood out to me. But I would, if you spot anything that is incorrect, then do join the community Discord server. James hangs out there a lot and he is still going to be updating this mod if there's any issues that shows up, so make sure you put any feedback there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this little guide and video, and hope you enjoyed the mod. Thank you for watching. All infantry and team weapon units on the map gain increased combat effectiveness, and infantry run at increased speeds. Huh? Everything starts with the